So, Libby, as you watch this, how do you separate out the signal and the noise? I mean, how much of this, for example, for Senator Johnson, how much of that is he's genuinely against it as opposed to negotiating with the conference?
Well, look, what we've seen with Senator Johnson, he came out pretty vociferously against health care at one point, and then obviously ultimately voted in favor of health care. From folks that I've talked to on the Hill, they believe that he's a pretty solid no on this at this point, unless there's some really fundamental changes in the bill. But then they run up against, something called the Byrd Rule, which in the Senate, if the bill adds to the deficit beyond the budget window, year 11 and beyond, then it cannot be used with reconciliation, cannot pass with reconciliation, which means it has to get 60 votes, not 50. So, Senator Johnson, at this point, it looks like is a pretty firm no, again, unless there's some fundamental changes. But if there are fundamental changes, then they might have a process problem.
Libby, how much attention should investors actually pay to the bill that goes through the House today?
Yeah, and I would say, it's important, but I think that if we see anything on tax, it's really going to resemble the Senate bill and not the House bill. The House bill, again, not to get too into these process issues, but right now, the House bill as drafted could not pass the Senate under these reconciliation rules, which means that we need 60 votes, not 50. So as of right now, the House bill is important. It kind of shows you where members are on certain issues, but again, it's going to be the Senate bill if we see anything. Yeah. And I think everyone has sort of viewed this as a foregone conclusion. There is so much political will among Republicans to get something done, but there are some real obstacles, as Mike pointed out as well.
So when you sit down with the portfolio managers at PIMCO, do they view today as mood music?
Yeah, I think we're sort of viewing this as sort of the fifth or sixth inning of a ninth inning game versus I think some people think this is sort of the eighth or ninth. There is still a long way from here. Again, there's a lot of political will to get something done. Things are going at an impressively fast rate. If you say the Senate is going to go through a markup of tax reform in a week, I would have said that seems sort of absurd even just a couple weeks ago. So there is a lot of political will to get something done. But again, you have to get something through the Senate Finance Committee, you have to get through the Senate, and then you'd have to go through conference.